Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We got a lot to talk about when it comes to NXT, man. I got a problem here. Okay, I got a problem with some of this stuff going on around here. My beloved NXT is threatened. It is under attack, but we'll talk about that later. This NXT Heat Wave, August 16th, 2022. We're going to talk about NXT UK at the end of the show because there's a lot to discuss when it comes to NXT UK. There's some questions about the future of the brand. But first, there's only one note that I really want to get into about NXT before we get into a review of the show. And that is that Shawn Michaels kind of clears the air once again for like the 45th time that Vince and Bruce were not in charge of WWE NXT in either NXT or 2.0. He says, and I quote, "When Hunter first left, it became all me. And certainly from a television standpoint, Matt Bloom is the head coach and takes care of everything from a PC training standpoint. But when it came to NXT 2.0 television, that's certainly myself and my team took over creatively. I know a lot of people thought Vince and Bruce were doing that. I can promise you they did not have the time to do NXT television. If it's good or if it's bad, that's on me." Oh, boy. So, once again, Shawn Michaels tells the truth and people don't want to hear it. They believe what they want to believe. So, for people at least who follow this channel, and we tend to listen to, people who have no reason to lie. There was no reason to believe that Vince and Bruce were going to take over NXT. The rebranding was kind of a group decision or whatever. So they need to be told that again because that's what, people choose to believe, dirt sheet writers and shit like that. So it is what it is. But with that being said, there's certainly something that took place on this NXT show that I'm going to blame Shawn Michaels for. And me and Shawn Michaels are going to have a word. But the show itself was quite good. We got Paul Heyman to do the voiceovers. For those of you who might not get it, Heat Wave was an ECW show. So they got Paul Heyman to do the cold open, the voiceover for the entrance. Very good. Very, very good. I enjoyed that. Match 1. Giovanni Vinci loses to Carmelo Hayes. A solid match. Both guys did very good. There was a botch spot here and there. Just guys working too fast, trying to do too much. Carmelo Hayes burned a shirt with Giovanni Vinci's faces on it for his entrance in a trash can. They love throwing stuff in the trash can on this NXT. Anyway, Vinci had done this spot before, which was a suplex that the opponent jumps off the top rope, jumps into your arms essentially, and then you do a suplex. So he had done it before, and he nearly dropped Carmelo Hayes on his head this time. So very weird. The finish came when Trick Williams got into the ring, and Melo got powerbombed on top of Trick Williams, but it basically kind of protected him a little bit and knocked Trick Williams down. So then Trick Williams got involved, and he ended up getting powerbombed. Somehow this wasn't a disqualification. I guess because he didn't make contact with Giovanni Vinci. Anyway, he tries to powerbomb Carmelo Hayes again. It's counted into a Hurricanrana, and it was a finish. That was the 3 count. I don't think I like that finish, though. I'm not really a fan of that finish. I don't know. It was a good match, though. I enjoyed the match. Carmelo Hayes, guy's looking bulletproof. I don't know what we do with this guy now. He's doing real good. I'm really enjoying his work. And Vinci was pretty good, too, He's very plain. Again, he needs a woman with him. I don't know what they got against valets, but they need to correct that immediately. Needs to have a woman with him. So Toxic Attraction met Braun Breaker in the parking lot. Nothing bad happened. I'm like, oh, the parking lot is being very nice all of a sudden. It's obviously trying to lull us into a false sense of security. So just when we think that the parking lot is a nice place to be where we can have a picnic with our family, all of a sudden teeth will grow from under the street or something like that and gobble us up. So I'm not trusting that parking lot whatsoever. So Julius Creed said he has something to talk to everybody about. It's something suspicious. He's going to address it now. So this takes us to the Diamond Mine segment where Julius Creed and Brutus Creed and Damon Kemp and Roderick Strong are in the ring. And Julius Creed says that, Diamond Mine was the opportunity of a lifetime to learn from a champion in NXT named Roderick Strong. And they fought for Diamond Mine. They won the Dusty Cups, won the tag team titles, all for Diamond Mine. But somebody has been trying to bring Diamond Mine down. They've been trying to undermine Diamond Mine. And then he showed the clip. It was a clip of him getting kneed in the face by Roderick Strong. But more than that, it was Tony D'Angelo tapping the mat before he did it. So Julius Creed had jumped to the conclusion that Roderick Strong was getting secret messages from Tony D'Angelo to attack him. And this, he's going to need some medication. Anyway, Roderick Strong got offended. And Roderick Strong sounds like he's 12 years old for some reason. And he was very upset that they accused him and pointed the finger at him. He talked about how he brought them in. He brought them in. Saw that they needed guidance and wanted to be their mentor. So the crowd continues to say that they didn't need him. And he kept saying, yes, they do. I mean, Roderick Strong sounds like he's all of 16 years old. Like he's freshly outside of puberty. The crowd is continuing to give him trouble. Creed says that, you're going to stab us in the back. Roderick Strong called Tony D'Angelo a scumbag and said that this whole time the Creed brothers have had something against him. He's not sure what it is, but he's going to find it. And all of us, they had him cornered. All three members of Diamond Mine, Creed brothers, Damon Kemp, they had him cornered. And all of a sudden, Gallus comes out of nowhere and beats them all up. Gallus meaning Mark and Joe Coffey, as well as Wolfgang. They beat the tar out of Diamond Mine. And then it looks like they was working on behalf of Roderick Strong at first. And then they beat him up too. So Gallus boys on top. And they beat up. I was like, okay, cool. I watch NXT UK, so I know who these guys are. But I can understand if you don't. If you don't watch NXT UK, you're like, who are these funny talking people here? And why are they all dressed like, guys going to the grocery store? Well, it's Gallus. These are the guys who probably would have fit a lot better with Sheamus than Ridge Holland and Butch. These guys, if you'd put these guys with Sheamus, we be talking about like the European Four Horsemen. Like these, not even as far as the glitz and the glamour of the Four Horsemen. I'm talking like 4 drunken knobs. Like that would be a tremendous stable. Not that they would be wearing like Ferragamo shoes or anything like that. Nah, they wouldn't be going that far. They'd be like violent idiot brutes, which would be a lot more fun. 4 drunken knuckleheads is better than 3 and better than 1, better than so. I really was pushing for Gallus to join Sheamus, but this works fine too. So if you have been paying attention, the Oracle of NXT, Apollo Crews, that's so Apollo. He saw this happen. He saw it in his mind's eye last week that Diamond Mine was going to get jumped and beat up. It didn't happen. So he's an oracle all of a sudden. He can see into the future. Whatever. I like Gallus, and their theme song is simply the best in the business, which guarantees they're going to change it. But Gallus theme song, fantastico. Mwah, I love it. Later, Gallus got into the face of Jensen and Briggs, and they said he wanted the NXT UK Tag Team Championships back. I just want Jensen and Briggs gone. I don't care what you do with them. You could bury them with the belts. You can send them into the moon. I don't give a damn what you do with Jensen and Briggs. They just suck. You can leave Fallon Henley behind though. She doesn't offend me. But what really does offend me is how hard it was for me to understand Joe Coffey on this show. Like usually I watch NXT UK, I can understand that fool just fine. But on this show, it sounded like he was speaking word puzzle. I didn't know what the hell he was saying or why he was saying it. I used my context clues to figure it out. Like I think we need, like he's like one of those pikers from that fucking movie. What was that movie? With Brad Pitt, Snatch. That movie was great. Snatch was great. That was a great fucking movie. I forgot whoever the director of that movie is. He did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I love that movie too. And I love both of those flicks. But Snatch is tremendous. But I didn't understand shit Joe Coffey was talking about in this promo. That accent was just too thick. But I understood him just perfectly fine. And I thought maybe it was the cadence. Maybe he was a little nervous or something like that. But I don't know. We'll figure it out. But Gallus being there, quite cool. I understand if you're kind of confused, though. You're like, who are these very plain dudes? It's like, yeah, they don't really, they're not going to jump off the page at you because they're like hooligans. That's kind of the Gallus mission. They're knuckleheads for the most part, but I love these guys. All right. So we got Roxanne Perez. She's backstage talking about how nervous she is for this match and her stomach is in knots, but Cora wanted this and now Cora's going to have to answer for it. And we get the match, Roxanne Perez versus Cora Jade. Cora Jade wins the match with a double arm DDT. So they started the match hot with Cora getting attacked and, Roxanne jumping in between the ropes and all this kind of stuff. Roxanne isn't very good when it comes to showing passion. And I'm talking, well, I shouldn't say the word passion. I should say the word intensity. Because, when you work the indies, you don't have to act too much. And this requires acting skill, which means you have to actually, work a little bit harder on making sure your strikes look good and making sure that you use the right kind of techniques to start the match. For instance, jumping in between the ropes, but doing so in a way that looks weird, I don't know. And I've always kind of thought it was weird to do a jump start and then start doing wrestling stuff. Like they were doing bridges later, and I was just kind of like, we started out hot and then we got into wrestling match material, but I don't know, man. It was kind of backwards. And people do that stuff now. I don't know why they do that. Why do people start these matches hot and then they slow down into wrestling stuff and then they try to ramp it back up later? I don't get it. I don't understand that. Stop doing that, please. Anyway, the finish. Cora Jade went to get her stick, which I'm guessing is a kendo stick now because that's what they told me. I thought it was like something metallic. She tries to hit Roxanne Perez with it. Roxanne moves. Then she knocks Cora Jade down. Then she picks up the stick and she's going to hit Roxanne's going to hit Cora Jade with the stick. But she's very nice. She's very sweet. She's very innocent. She's a good girl. She's not going to do it. She can't do it. She turns her eye away from Cora Jade as the referee kind of admonishes her for even having this item in the ring. That distraction was enough for Cora Jade to get up, hit her in the back of the head, double arm DDT on the kendo stick, which somehow is legal, and Cora Jade wins. So at least Cora Jade won. That's a good thing. Roxanne Perez did not need to win this match. Cora Jade did. Cora Jade did a good job as a heel, I think. She's been a bit of a chicken shit, rolling in and out of the ring, trying to create some separation. Okay. Roxanne Perez needs work as a babyface. I mean, she needs some work. And that's okay. It's perfectly fine because it's NXT and that's what this place is for. It's for, to do some work. Von Wagner, talk about needing some work. My God, this guy needs an overhaul. Rob Stone said that he is a freak of nature and he could walk onto any exhibition NFL football team. And I'm like, he'd probably make more money in the NFL than he would in NXT. Why the hell he doesn't just walk onto the NFL? Then Von Wagner talked, which was a big mistake, as he says that the game has changed, but the rules are the same, that the smaller and the weaker will not survive in his jungle. Ooh. Can we strap Von Wagner to a rocket ship and blast him off into the sun or something like that? We got to do something to get rid of this fucking guy. All right. We got to do something to get rid of this fucking guy. He's just not good. He's just nowhere near good. He's far away from fucking good. Far away from good. All right. Where am I? I lost my place already. All right. So we got some warm up action. JD Mcdonough is sitting in an ice bath and Zoe Stark is playing with the little army resistance bands. Those things are pretty cool. I used them for a little while. I probably still got some around here somewhere. I never use them though, because working out, I just don't have time for it. Anyway, Tony D'Angelo and Santos Escobar. There was a vignette for their 4-month storyline, which was tremendous, of course. It was excellent. And then we got into the match, the street fight, all or nothing, free or fired, Santos Escobar versus Tony D'Angelo. If Santos Escobar loses, he has to leave NXT. So Santos Escobar was out in the parking lot. Once again, the parking lot didn't get him. So Legado del Fantasma met him out into the parking lot. They sided with him before the match. And Tony D'Angelo, he only came out with stacks. He only came out with one guy. They had a pretty good match between these two. You know, I really enjoyed this. There was certain parts where other guys got involved. Like Stacks took out Legado del Fantasma at one point by just kind of jumping on them as they weren't paying attention. And also Raul Mendoza hit Stacks with a crowbar, which was much later. There was a lot of crowbar action in this match. A lot of people thought that, and I'm myself included, that Elektra Lopez would turn heel in this match, or at least just turn on Santos Escobar. And when she picked up the crowbar, I was like, okie dokie, here we go. Now something's about to happen. So Santos Escobar comes out there to get the crowbar from Elektra Lopez, but she doesn't give it to him. Instead, she just kind of holds on to it as he kind of approaches her. Tony D'Angelo rushes the pair. Santos moves, knocks Elektra over. That fires up Santos and the crowd. They're like all woke up now, and they're really upset. They're chanting, "You fucked up," at Tony D'Angelo as Santos Escobar is just kind of taking pieces of his skin off. And they get into a big fight scene. At one point, they're at the end. They're holding each other by the hair, and Santos is yelling at him. And Tony D'Angelo kind of looks behind him, and there's the crowbar. And then Santos Escobar looks behind him, and there's brass knuckles. And so they let each other go to try to get the weapon of choice. Tony D'Angelo gets his weapon first, bashes Santos Escobar in the face with a crowbar, and pins him. I saw a lot of people that were sort of thinking, oh, what a great finish. What a dramatic finish. And I just kept saying, it's not the finish I would have done. You know, to me, when you got your guy, and y'all, you know, for starters, there's too much of that, you know, them two sitting in the ring, holding each other by the head. I think that kind of went on a little too long. It was a little too cinematic. It was a good drama, but it was a little too cinematic. I think there could have been better ways of doing it. I think, you know, it just kind of felt like it didn't feel realistic, you know. Plus, and I get that it was sort of poetic because that's how Tony D'Angelo always wins. He always hits the guy with a crowbar or something like that. It just felt weird that, you know, the babyface had the numeric advantage and still lost. You know, that just doesn't sit right with me. There was 3 members of Legado del Fantasma outside the ring. How the fuck did this guy lose? You know, like you're just stupid at that point. You know, like it made Santos Escobar look awful that he had the numeric advantage and he still lost. You know, like why didn't anybody wasn't there to toss him the weapon or, you know, or something? You know, I know that they found ways of getting them guys out of there or whatever, but it just didn't make sense to me. It would have been a perfect time to debut somebody new for Tony D'Angelo's crew who could have tossed him the crowbar when you know, Escobar reached for it or something like that. So I didn't really like the finish as much as everybody else did, but Tony D'Angelo winning was expected, and it was sort of the right decision. I just hate that Legado del Fantasma isn't going to be going together, and hopefully that will be the case. Hopefully Tony D'Angelo will fire Legado del Fantasma next week. Maybe they can all go sleep with the fishes. You know, I mean, you kill one guy, you murdered one dude, you know, who popped up all elite. Maybe you can murder somebody else. I mean, what's another murder? What's the big deal? So I wasn't as thrilled about the finish as other people. I know I'm probably being extra critical on that one because it was a creative finish. But to me, it just seemed weird that you would take your eye off the guy, knowing that he's going for a weapon. It'd been one thing if he didn't know, but you know that he's going for a weapon. And then he's going for a crowbar. You're going for brass knuckles. It's like a crowbar has farther reach than brass knuckles, man. But I get that they have woven both of the items into the story. And Escobar knocked out Tony D'Angelo with brass knuckles before, so he kind of sees him as old faithful. But I still didn't love it. I didn't love that finish, but it was the right decision for Tony D'Angelo to win. So I wonder now what we do with Legado del Fantasma. Maybe, again, Tony D will fire them all, and he'll just go off with just him and Two Dimes. Or him and Stacks, rather. I'm sorry. All right, so Indy Hartwell told KC Squared that she cried when they won the tag team championships. She's, didn't really trust anyone else anymore after, her tag team fell apart. And then she got a note from a very interesting messenger, and it was a love letter from Dexter Lumis. Aww. And as she was reading it, Blair Davenport snatched the notes and ripped it up. And Indy Hartwell didn't beat her ass for this. In fact, she just allowed her to explain who she is. And she was like, I'm Blair Davenport. And, future NXT women's champion or something. And I was like, okay, look, I like Blair Davenport. This works. Her being in NXT is probably where she should have been in the first place, if we're being honest. NXT UK was better for her being there because she is a really good talent. But I think NXT is probably where she belongs, at least for right now, until she's ready for Raw or SmackDown. So they have already set up a first feud for her, so she's going to probably be dealing with Indy Hartwell. So that's fine. So I like Blair Davenport. At this point, I am thinking that they're probably introducing too many people. They've introduced 4 people already. Gallus is one group, and if you don't know who they are, they're going to have a difficult time telling them apart. At least she was by herself, at least she was by herself. So you really just got one woman, but I'm pretty sure that there's probably going to be more women from the division coming over soon. All right. So there was a vignette for Tiffany Stratton and Wendy Chu, where Tiffany used modern language like she's over Wendy, and Wendy used modern slang. She's tired of Tiffany Stratton looking down on her, thinking she's a joke. And they're going to have a lights out match. I don't know what that means. It's WWE. So if it was AEW, lights out would mean lights go off, lights come back on. In WWE, something tells me there's going to be a blindfold match where all the audience has to be blindfolded. Because that's how WWE does things. Well, at least that's how Vince used to do it. It would have been silly and over the top. Are they going to wrestle in the dark? That's all I want to know. Are they going to wrestle in the dark? Are they going to have a glow in the dark match? An FBI special. If they have a glow in the dark match, I'm going to laugh my ass off. I'm telling you. If they have a glowies match, I'm going to roll, dog. I'm going to roll. I'm going to have a ball with that one. But I'm going to cut them some slack. Since I don't know what kind of lights out match they plan to have. But from what it sounds like, they might use the Splinter Cell camera so that we can see them wrestling in the dark. But then how the referee going to see? Is he going to have a Splinter Cell gear too? Is the crowd going to have Splinter Cell gear? How's anybody going to know what's happening in this match? So I don't know, but I'm interested. It's creative, and we know that it's not going to be blood or anything like that. So nobody's going to break out the blade for this one, despite the fact they've been feuding forever. So that's good. But hopefully Tiffany Stratton throws Wendy Chu into the negative zone, and we don't have to deal with her anymore. Because I can't stand Wendy Chu. Can't stand her. All right. I was going to wait to discuss this, but it's on the itinerary right here. Quincy Elliott. So Magic Johnson's son decided he wanted to be a pro wrestler. And he says that he's bringing all of this, and he's just pointing at his fat body. He said, I'm bringing all of this to NXT. And he talks about how he looks to the left of him, looks to the right of him. He sees all kinds of people from all forms of life, and and he's embracing being different. And then I saw him do like, like he's doing these black woman hand gestures. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no. God, no. Then he says that he's the super diva. And I just, oh fuck. Oh fuck. I went on Twitter, which was a mistake because I didn't know who the fuck this guy was. Somebody posted a video of this rotund individual on NXT Level Up, and he was pole dancing on the ring post. And I said, you know what? If that motherfucker does this one time on this show, I am going to blow my fucking gaskets. All right? I do not want that. I do not want that kind of shit on this show. I can't stand it. I don't want it. No. All right? It's one thing to be of that persuasion. That's perfectly fine. That's who you are. That's who you are. But this big fat dude who apparently is mentally a woman, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that. Nah, that one ain't playing with me, dog. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, it's a fun gimmick. It's like Velveteen Dream and Gold Dust and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, man, that dude wearing a lot of material on his back. You feel me? That's a big dude. He reminds me a lot of Magic Johnson's son. That's why I said that. And somebody informed me that there was this guy, I guess his gimmick is similar to that of some type of gay rapper. And I'm like, gay rapper? Like, I know that rappers are weirdos now. But you telling me that this is open, effeminate male rapper? Like, I get it, though. I'm not surprised. Like, every time I look at anything rap related, it's all stripper bitches like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. And it's like, do men rap anymore? Is there any male rappers anymore? It seems like there's always these effeminate dudes who wear like dresses and shit and stripper hoes. Like, when did strippers become the rappers? They used to be the subjects of rap. It's like Superhead all of a sudden, instead of writing books about dudes she banged, she decided to write songs about it. That's not funny or fun to me. And now this sort of degenerate culture has corrupted hip hop music, which, I gave up on a long time ago when I found out most of these dudes were drug addicts. That's what made me turn back. I was like, I'm tired of hearing about dudes popping pills. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of dudes talking about popping pills, man. When I wasn't that thrilled about listening to dudes sell drugs, I definitely don't want to hear about dudes rapping about taking them. So, it's just too much. Too many guys doing it. And now these dudes are rapping about sucking dicks. And I'm like, I'm already done with it. So it's not like I can do more to turn my back on it. And now, they're going to bring this sort of, I don't know, imagery into wrestling. Like, I saw this fucking guy twerk on a turnbuckle, not a turnbuckle, on a ring post. Bro, I was visibly ill. I think my face turned green. This was gross. What the fuck? Shawn fucking Michaels. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? What would possess you to put that on television? Vince needs to remove Shawn Michaels from, if he does that on NXT TV, the first time he does it, somebody, the hand of the warlord himself, needs to reach from Stanford to Orlando and pluck Shawn Michaels from the Performance Center and sit him back in his home in San Antonio. Get the fuck out of here. Because if that's what you think is entertainment or in any way interesting, we are on two different paths. All right. Look, yes, wrestling is a place for people who are eccentric, Goldust and Adrian Street and Adrian Adonis and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But there needs to be limits. All right. There needs to be limits. And some of that stuff needs to be turned way down. All right. Let him do his thing, but turn it way down. We don't, there's some of it needs to be turned down. And if they turn it down some, I can overlook it. But if they're going to go flaming fat heap of monkeypox, I'm done. Boy, telling you, don't do it. Don't do it. Be normal. Don't be a fucking idiot, degenerate cocksucker. Don't do that. Be a normal dude. You know, a little funny, a little silly. All right, but let's not go too far with this. People talking about he's gonna be like the gay Viscera. I was like, that shit wasn't funny. Viscera wasn't funny or cool. That shit was weird, man. Did you see that dude? Did you see that man? He was made out of wet sand. The world's largest love machine. Did you see how much material was on that motherfucker? His clothes looked like they were made out of giant blankets. Fuck no. That shit gross, man. That shit was weird as fuck. Weird as fuck. And everybody knew it was weird. I don't want to relive Viscera in the giant velour pajamas. Fuck. Hell no, man. Hell no. God. Hell no. Ah. All right. Let's move on. Mandy Rose defeats Zoe Stark, and I was like, yes! Get this plain Jane the fuck out of here. So they had a nice little montage for Mandy Rose going into the match. Zoe Stark is as plain as can be. They did a QR code for Zoe Stark, and it was basically her with the title in the air. It was the same image from last week when she knocked out Mandy Rose, but thank God that, it didn't happen. So, Toxic Attraction came down to ringside. They got ejected. Nikita Lyons came down there to fight them off. So she kind of took care of both of them by herself. This was an interesting match because Zoe Stark hit her finish, the flippity-doo-dah joint. She injured her surgically repaired knee, however. And so Mandy Rose was able to escape by rolling outside the ring. At that point, Mandy starts to work the knee. And she ends up taking the knee brace off of her. And then she hit her in the face with the knee brace. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So it was another finish that other people seem to have liked. And I was like, how is that legal? I don't know if that one's legal, dog. But the right girl won, so, fuck. These finishes, man, they need to rethink some of these things. Simpler sometimes is just better. Just having Zoe Stark sell the knee and then Mandy Rose does something to her face or something like that. It's probably so much better than, just keep it simple sometimes. But Mandy Rose has now been champion for 300 something days. She's going to go down as probably one of the GOAT NXT women's champions because not only did she develop her work rate, but her character work has been tremendous. And she's been involved in some very interesting feuds. Some people are really exhausted. Like, who is left for Mandy Rose to beat? And it's like, come on, baby. You already know it's only been one person. It's Nikita Lyons, baby. Now, with them bringing over some of the NXT UK women, I was thinking maybe they'll snatch Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons out of NXT. And I think that, no, not Nikita Lyons, though. She's probably going to stay. Now, Zoe Stark, I could see them pulling her up to SmackDown or something. But Nikita Lyons is probably going to go back to NXT. I don't see them going too far in the tournament anyway. And again, I'm more of the thought process that Toxic Attraction is going to take them out and take their spot. And that's what I think is going to happen. So there we go. Now, Grayson Waller, he showed up and he's got bundles of energy. It's like the Ricochet's promo on Friday where he's just bouncing around, talking a lot. And he talked about how he punked out Apollo Crews, who was a selfish man, came down there to steal their shine in NXT. Then he told, what was her name? Mackenzie Mitchell, that Apollo Crews is going to try to take her job next. and that, you know, he doesn't smell as good as she does, but he got a better smile. And she just looked like, what? Then Grayson Waller says he's going to debut his new show, The Grayson Waller Effect, and Apollo Crews is going to be his first guest. I was like, okay, I guess that works for me. If it works for you, it works for me, bro. All right. I like Grayson Waller, but he's ice cold now. He just has no direction. It's almost like they knew what they had with him, and then they gave it up for some reason. I don't know, man. He probably peaked too soon for them. That's what it felt like. It felt like, yeah, we want him to get hot, but we didn't expect the guy to fucking become like NXT's Hitler, because he was like one of the first NXT 2.0 guys to really get over. And he was like, well, we gotta slow that down. So now he's slowed down to a fucking crawl. He needs a woman with him. You know, he's just another one who needs an valet. All right. So the NXT Championship main event, JD Mcdonough versus Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker came out with a sledgehammer. And I was like, oh boy, it's going to be that kind of show, is it? He didn't do anything too terrible with it. He just kind of brandished it for a little bit. The match itself was solid, fairly cool. You know, just a cool match. Nothing spectacular. JD McDonough with the neck breaker on the metal part between the turnbuckle and the ring post. I'd never seen that before. And I thought he was going to win when he did that, because I was like, wow, that's unique. And then to attack the neck of Braun Breaker, this guy's a sort of a weightlifting guy. So to attack the neck, it's like, yeah, okay, I can buy that. You know, he looks like he got a strong neck, but he's a well-built guy. He's probably strong everywhere, you know. So, but the neck is an interesting position to take. So Braun wins with the spear and then the press slam. So that was great. Match was fine. I don't know what you do with McDonough now. So, I mean, Braun Breaker's in a position where you're definitely like, what do we do? You know, is in more of that position than Mandy Rose, because there's literally nobody who could take the belt from him other than Tony D'Angelo. So, or Carmelo Hayes. So those are the only two options you got. So I'm guessing Tony D'Angelo is about to win the belt, which is fine with me. You know, I like Tony D'Angelo. Him being a champion works for me. And I said it. I said that he is sort of the Razor Ramon of NXT, and he's going to end up being the top heel. You know, him being the Lex Luthor to Braun Breaker Superman works just fine with me. They've already been setting up the storylines that Tony D'Angelo doesn't need to win straight up. He'll cut corners. He's ruthless. He'll do whatever it takes. And, you know, with that sort of mentality going into a match with Braun Breaker, all you got to do is survive a little bit and cut some corners, and, you know, it'll work. It'll be believable when Tony D'Angelo wins the belt. And that needs to happen immediately. So after Braun Breaker wins, his celebration is cut short as Tyler Bate comes out with the NXT UK Championship. Problem with that, he hadn't won it yet. So Ilya Dragunov broke his ankle apparently in a match against Wolfgang, who is a member of Gallus. And he had to give up the NXT UK Championship. They did, I think, one match, maybe two matches in the tournament on NXT UK TV. And now Tyler Bates on American television with the NXT UK belt. So fuck watching that show, huh? For any tension, you're not going to be able to get any out of this fucking show. So Tyler Bate comes out and they do the old CM Punk, John Cena thing where Tyler Bate raises the belt, and then you got Braun Breaker raises his belt, and is worlds going to collide? And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. I love Worlds Collide. It's tremendous. It's the yearly NXT versus NXT UK show. They usually do it on the network. I'm thinking maybe they do it on TV now. I don't know if it's good for TV. The reason why I don't think it's good for TV is because you'd be, again, introducing too many new characters at once that people have never seen before. And you're asking people, it's basically like their version of Forbidden Door. You know, you're bringing in all these European guys who people don't know. and you're putting a certain number of the people that you're used to seeing on the back burner and saying, okay, we're not gonna push Gallus and Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate's been on TV before. He was on TV before in the black and gold era, but that was a long time ago. How many people really remember Mustache Mountain being the NXT Tag Team Champions? How many people really remember when he was wrestling for the title and all that kind of stuff? And they were having NXT UK championship matches on takeovers. I don't think a lot of people remember that stuff. They probably saw it, but it didn't really stick with them and register that, I can remember this guy a year later. I don't know, probably not. And to be quite honest, Tyler Bate is a completely different performer now than he was then too, but he's coming across a lot like Bryan Danielson, where he's just wrestler guy. There's nothing about him that jumps out at you. So that's another reason why I'm not a big fan of this pairing. I think, Bryan is not benefiting from wrestling these regular fucking guys. Joe Gacy, they turned him into Skeletor for a certain amount of time, but he still dresses like a dude who works in an office somewhere. He looks like a very evil accountant, like an intern or something like that. Like, Braun Breaker needs to fight larger than life characters, and not any more of these wrestler guys. Could have gave Tyler Bate somebody else as an opponent. But I did question what they were going to do to unification. And I questioned that because of the plight of NXT UK. So now we're going to talk about that for a moment. NXT UK is in a bit of a tiff, as we can say. So this is from PW Insider and Wrestling Observer newsletter. There is a lot of uneasiness within the NXT UK crew. The next two sets of television tapings were canceled on August the 9th. The reason given was that BT Sports Studios, where they tape, had to be used for the soccer coverage. That's what they incorrectly call soccer in the UK. But as you can imagine with the talent, how the reaction is, given you could tape somewhere else, and shutting down tapings is never a good sign. Nobody really has been told anything. And it says, currently there are no tapings for that brand scheduled in Great Britain. Now, here's the thing. I don't think Meltzer knows whether they have an exclusivity contract with BT Sports Studios or not. They could be signed exclusively to them, and therefore they can't move the shows to somewhere else. So we don't know for sure why they haven't rescheduled any of the tapings. Now, some people have claimed that, this might be the end of the brand and it might be over. And that they're trying to throw out a parachute to some of the talent and get some of them work in the United States. Apparently there's going to be more people being brought over. It's like, okay, that's pretty obvious now, considering we know that they're going to be doing a crossover show between NXT UK and NXT. So I'm not too concerned about the plight of the brand as much as I am just thinking that it was a very weird thing for them to do in terms of not letting people in more on what's going on. But clearly if they decide, let's say, to unify these championships, the NXT UK is done. All right. Because there's really no reason for them to fight anymore if they're going to combine the belts. And if they're going to combine the belts, then that begs the question, where's Meiko Satomura, who is the women's champion? And where is, I think, Wolfgang? Well, Wolfgang is there, but he's, I think, also... No, it's not Wolfgang. It's Mark Coffey, who is the Heritage Cup champion. And so... But I do have questions. Because, you got Briggs and Jensen as the NXT UK Tag Team Champions. So... what's going on with that brand? A referee, her name was Artemis, came out and said that she was paid shockingly low. She didn't say how much she was paid, but just said that she wasn't paid enough in NXT UK. And this somehow is evidence that everybody is underpaid because a referee complained. All of a sudden, everybody is complaining. It's very strange that people complain about pay and then fans start jumping to all kinds of conclusions. It's like, don't jump to any conclusions, because if people signed up knowing what the pay was going to be, and that seemed to be the problem, is that, she thought she was going to get a pay increase, and then she didn't get a pay increase. So now she was mad about it. But she's also a teacher, and I'm pretty sure teachers are treated like absolute royalty in England and Europe or wherever the hell she's from. Because they're public servants, and public servants, they very rarely get fired from jobs or anything like that. So she was probably treated like, the fucking Duke of Nottingham or some shit. In any event, a referee complained about pay, and all of a sudden I think, did Killer Kelly, she complained about mostly I don't think it was the pay as much as it was the presentation, I think. In any event, NXT UK is hated mostly by people who are, WWE killed the European indies and all that kind of crap, where you ask the question, if a place pops up that pays you more, are you going to go there rather than staying where you are? And pretty much ask anybody, pretty much, they'll say, yes, I'm going to go where the money is, of course. And therefore they did. And that, you don't like that. You don't like that WWE signed a bunch of European wrestlers. Now, maybe they control their bookings a little bit too much, but I think the rules are different from NXT UK than it is for the rest of the American roster, but that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, people hate NXT UK, so they want it to go away. So they're looking for any reason to get rid of it. So when William Regal said that NXT UK is great and that the talent gets paid weekly and they all are better for being in NXT, this was seen as an attack on the referee who complained about pay. Even though, and he had to go on Twitter and clear this up, William Regal said he made those comments 2 weeks ago, which means the episode was in the can for 2 weeks before it aired. And he did not know this young lady who made these comments, and he was not talking about her. And of course, a lot of the clickbait sites said that he was responding to her, which he was not. As a matter of fact, Wrestling Inc. has it right here. Former NXT UK referee Artemis spoke out a few weeks ago about how she believes that the pay in NXT UK was not where it should be, but Regal has quite a different take on the subject. And this is when he goes into, they all got paid a weekly wage. He claims he made this comment 2 weeks ago, and it was not a response to her. On Twitter, he says that, in the dirt sheets wonder why I don't talk to them. So this has been a lot of, there's some smoke going on in NXT UK. We don't know what's going on, right? We see that they're bringing over some talents, but they usually do that anyway for crossovers for Worlds Collide. Now they have the opportunity to do so. NXT UK has been running on a shoestring budget, similar to Ring of Honor, where it's been, they've been running these shows and they can't make any money off of them. So they've been running those pandemic shows and wasn't allowed to make money on them for a long time. And the rules over in the UK have been very different. I haven't looked into, what they can and cannot do, but I noticed that there was not a lot of releases from NXT UK. So maybe the laws in Europe was against it, that they couldn't release talent. And so they kind of just got stuck with some of these people. And now it's starting to loosen up and they're going to revamp it somehow or something like that. But it's not looking good for the brand. It's really not, because all of this stuff starts to crumble out of nowhere. But without knowing any real details, I can just look at the situation and say, all right, they brought in 5 talents. JD Mcdonough from NXT UK, and they brought over Gallus, and they brought over Blair Davenport. And are they going to bring in some more people? Maybe. I heard there's probably going to be some more people coming over. But how many? It's certainly not going to be the entire roster. Are they going to start doing tapings again? If so, where? Who's going to be a part of those tapings? All of that kind of stuff is going to be questions that's going to be popping up from now until we get answers. There's people preying on the downfall of NXT UK. I'm not. I love NXT UK. I think it's fun. It's a fun show to watch, even though sometimes these guys are a little too plain and they need personalities. But I typically enjoy watching NXT UK, typically speaking. Now for NXT proper, It's American television. We don't know who any of these people are. And introducing all of these people at one time is probably not a good idea. You know, it's going to turn off a lot of the audience because you're going to start hearing accents you never heard before. People are going to be very difficult to understand. A lot of them have been working the same gimmicks forever. So they, you know, they need to be freshened up. There may be some name changes for some of us. So we don't know what's going on yet. So we just got to sit back and relax and wait, which sucks because I like knowing what's going on, or at least being able to guess. But for everybody who's praying on NXT's downfall, NXT UK's downfall, and the downfall of NXT 2.0, I've got a feeling you're going to take a big, fat, juicy L in your lunchbox. But that's just me. I'm already taking a big, fat, juicy L over this Quincy Elliott thing. I'm not happy about it. I will never be happy about this. I'm certainly going to need some help. I'm going to need some professional help. I'm going to have to smoke some copium in order to make it through another Tuesday if I got to see this guy twerk on the goddamn ring post. I'm going to need some help. So hopefully we don't get that at all. And instead he comes out as a normal, flamboyant guy. And that's the best I can hope for. As far as the show is concerned, the show was fun. I questioned some of the finishes. The Santos Escobar and Tony D'Angelo finish, kind of questionable. The Mandy Rose, Zoe Stark finish, kind of questionable. So, but I typically enjoyed the show. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.